Welcome back to Sedentary Education Channel. Today we are going to look at information management in respect to grade 11 content, what you must know. Right, first of all, we are going to start from summary of information management, what you should know. Managing information like gathering, sifting, organizing, interpreting, and presenting the information. And the purpose of it is to solve a problem by following the information processing cycle steps. Right. Now, first of all, you need to find and get access to data or information. You gather data to solve the problem. Sources of information include electronic, print media, social media, and then also from people. Can get them from website and others. So if you are asked to give sources of information, these are some of the sources. You need to also know the difference between data and information. Remember, data is raw and processed facts that are yet to be processed. They are just raw things that are yet to be processed. And then the information, they are the processed data which makes meaningful or which are meaningful. And then you need to understand the problem. Now, like when you are doing PET, first thing is to define the task. You break it down into smaller parts, like why are you doing the investigation? What aspect are you going to investigate? Who will need the information? These are the things that you have to first begin with in order to define, explain the purpose of your research. Then the question to ask during this time, the current situation, the focus or the purpose, the methods, and then the target audience, those who need the information. Again, under this particular information management, you need to also know the difference between questions and then questionnaire. Now, the focus question, which is a researchable and it must create an insight, the broader one. And then the research question must be dependent on the focus question. It could be open-ended or closed-ended questions. Now, the open-ended questions are the one that requires more explanation to explore. The closed-ended needs a fixed or a limited answers. Like for instance, yes and no. So those are the closed-ended, and the open-ended that needs people to explain, expatiate whatever that the question has been asked. Then the levels of thinking, the fact. We have the fact level 1, level 2 to explore, level 3 to predict, judgmental. So whenever you create a question, you break it down under these levels also. Right, now closed-ended questions, they are narrow, like we said, yes and no, limited options. And they begin with who, when, where, what, how many. But then when it comes to open-ended, they require details, explanation, like why, how, what if. These are the open-ended questions. Right, and then we said the information and data management, you need the electronic or printed or social media. You must know the difference between a survey and then a questionnaire. Remember, a survey is a research method to collect opinions, but a questionnaire is a tool which is written set of questions to collect data. So the questionnaire is mostly a tool. And then this is a method or ways. So we use questionnaire to conduct a survey. Can use questionnaire to conduct a survey. So a questionnaire is not a source of information, but a survey is a source of information. How to search for information, searching techniques using keyword, quotation marks, search engines, advanced, and others. You have to make use of this to search for information. And after that, you evaluate to sift the information, to evaluate your source of information, like the date, the author, the update, the publisher, the language, the audience, and others. And then the data evaluation, like the authority. Is the author current, a legit person, somebody who is well known in the topic? Are the information current, which is the currency? Accuracy, can you find the information in other sources? Objectivity, are you not being biased towards a group of people? You have to check all these to evaluate the quality of the information. Then information sifting is keeping relevant, valid, reliable, current, objective data from the rest that you have gathered. You have to take note of that. And when you are processing the data into information, we have to use software like spreadsheet and database. So we need to compare spreadsheet and database. Like for instance, the spreadsheet, they capture the format and analyze data. The features like sorting, filtering, functions, charts, and others can be used to create or to analyze data also. Right. Advantages and disadvantages of using spreadsheet. Advantages are that they are easy to use, good for small or medium data, more powerful for calculations also. But then the disadvantages of spreadsheet are that they are limited for very large data set, less secure, and difficult to link also. Database, using queries, report, and then also tables with a data validation techniques like validation rule, validation text, required, and others. Now, advantages are that they handle large data sets. They can store a lot of data with a data validation, powerful for query also. But disadvantage is that they are more complex to learn and setup can take times also. Right. Now, so analyzing the data, you can choose between these two to identify trends and the patterns also. Now, report writing. When you are writing a report, what do you have to do? You must focus on the following. One, like the introduction, your headings with the introduction. And then the introduction contains more or less like your task definition, what you did, how did you conduct the research, and what aspect did you focus on. That should be under the introduction. And they must flow like that with your key findings, with the visuals and recommendation, and then conclusion. Remember, you need to also summarize your work in a form of abstract on the cover page. So the abstract is a brief summary of the report as well. Then the referencing style can be either APA or any other styles to avoid plagiarism also. Now, when you are creating the website, you must check all these. You must be responsible, making sure that the website is consistent with the same style and then the font and other things. The graphics, you must have the alt text and all those things to keep your research or people who are going to use your website, your audience, to keep them or let them enjoy using your website or going through the information there on your website. Right. So that is it about the information management. Now let's check some of the questions under the information management. Number one, plagiarism. Explain plagiarism. That is using someone's work, ideas without the person's acknowledgement. Example, copying text or imaging without citing. What word feature for automatic table of content? That is heading style. You need to apply the heading style to be able to have table of content. Differentiate between citation and footnote. Citation is brief, intense references, and the footnote additional details or explanation at the bottom of the page. Questionnaire, what kind of errors you might encounter, maybe missing numbering, no instructions given, inconsistent spacing. Reasons why online survey or questionnaire is better than the paperwork: faster distribution, automatic data capture, cheaper instead of printing, or we can also say green computing to ensure green computing. Right. And why is that what database feature to ensure accuracy? Validation rule, input mask, drop down list, or data type. Difference between a survey and interview. A survey is a written questions, many participants, less details. Interview is face-to-face, detailed, time-consuming. Now, reasons to check internet info reliability. Information can be false or outdated or biased and others. Meaning of copyright. That's the legal protection of creators' work. Advantages of electronic form, like we said earlier, green computing, easier to analyze, and then faster data protection. So you can see some of these questions, they flow like that. You have to take note of that. URL shortener, the benefit. Why do we use the asterisk in form? That means required or mandatory. When online survey is not the best, when a target group without the internet access, they don't have internet access. Advantages of queries over filter, they save and reuse, they handle complex criteria also. So you can see so many questions regarding the functions to count learners in level 1. That's count if. When you are counting based on a criteria, you use count if. Some of these questions can be information management. So you can see that the questions keep on repeating. Why author name not enough? Maybe they may not be an expert or could be biased also in your research. You have to go through some of these questions regarding the information management, difference between data and information, and then how to transfer electronic data without retyping, import or export, or use copy and paste, or use CSV files to be able to export to spreadsheet. How can teachers check plagiarism? They can Google the phrases or they use plagiarism checker software, and then also they can compare the styles of your work. So these are ways that we use to check plagiarism of your pet. So you can go through some of these things, these questions under the information management. Right.